tons of experience helping folks and helping organizations get federal grant dollars with organizations such as Deloitte. And our Colaborativo 40 program works to connect partners to resources, technical assistance, partnerships, and opportunities. So we can all get a part of those federal grant dollars that are a part of the Justice 40 initiative. Next slide. So Justice 40. Justice 40 is an initiative by the Biden administration. It's a historic investment made in historically disadvantaged communities who are marginalized, underserved, and overburdened by pollution. It's something that's unique to this administration. It has not been done before. And quite frankly, if President Biden is not reelected, this type of funding will probably go away. It is something that was one of the first things that the Republicans tried to cut when we got a new speaker. So the writing's on the wall that this money won't be here forever. So there's very much a time crunch to make sure that we could take advantage of these funds and the funds can actually reach our community. What kind of investments fall within Justice 40? Everything from climate change to clean transportation, clean water, workforce development, and reduction of the legacy of pollution, affordable housing, and clean energy efficiency. Justice 40 is implemented through the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the American Rescue Plan. So those are all the bills that were used to make sure that these funds can reach our community. And where are these Justice 40 grant dollars? They are within 15 different agencies within the US government. So they could be found everywhere from the typical ones and the typical agencies that you might think of within the Environmental Protection Agency, to the USDA, Department of Agriculture, to NASA, to HUD. So my point being is that there's a lot of different agencies that have Justice 40 funds, and they're not the typical ones that you might associate with environmental causes. So it's important when you're trying to look at these grant dollars to look at different agencies as well, and not just the typical ones that might pop up when you're thinking about federal government funds. Next slide. The sample amounts of funding available, there's been over $363 billion allocated through Justice 40. $27 billion is found through the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund within the EPA, $1.4 billion through HUD. And obviously the point of this call, the $2 billion that's within the EPA for the Community Change Grant. This is just a sample of the amount of money that's available right now at our dispersal. Next slide. So the grant roles. I know during our last webinar, we talked more about the implementation side of federal grants. Today, we're going to be moving back to the application part of federal grants. So that includes everything from your grant writing, your project management, your application review, your budget, your letters of commitment. All of that is what's usually encompassed in the application. And one of the most important parts of that is matchmaking to try to find your partners for the grant. Next slide. So there's a big difference between primaries and secondaries for federal grants. But no matter what, all the primaries and all the secondaries have to follow government regulations. And this includes everything from procurement policies to accounting. But here in this slide, you can see some of the main differences between being a primary and being a secondary. Primaries have to have a unique entity identifier number, which is similar to your EIN for your organization. They have to have a cage number, and both can be found for free on sam.gov. Primaries are the ones that are responsible for hitting send on the application. They're going to be the ones that manage the federal grant dollars and the budgets that are coming in. And they have typically been bigger organizations that have more staff and capacity. Secondaries sometimes don't have UEIs and cage numbers, but sometimes they do. They assist with the grant application and the implementation. A lot of times they can assist with a lot of the community engagement work that our communities usually do. The money flows typically through the primary grant recipient to the secondary grant recipient. And typically secondaries tend to be smaller organizations. So that just kind of gives you a brief overview of the secondaries and the primaries as relation to federal grants. Next slide. The Community Change Grant. So the Community Change Grant is for $2 billion. And part of why we're here today is to talk about our matchmaking opportunity. So who can apply? It has to be one CBO plus another CBO, or one CBO plus a federally recognized tribe, a CBO plus a local government, or a CBO plus a higher education institution. It's important to think about these and to know that as the CBO, you don't have to be the primary on this. So you don't necessarily have to have the cage number and the UEI. If your partner organization has the UEI or the cage number, they can be the prime applicant for this grant. But every applicant pairing needs to have a community-based partner. So the statutory partnership application is composed of the lead applicant who enters into the contract with the federal government, plus one of these other institutions, or plus one of these other type of entities. Next slide. And so for the purpose of our matchmaking today, we're going to be focusing on track 1, but there are 2 tracks within the Community Change Grant. Track 1 focuses more on infrastructure implementation projects, whereas track 2 focuses more on the community engagement projects, the ones that help disadvantaged communities become more involved with government processes. The total amount for track 1 is $1.96 billion. The total amount for track 2 is $40 million. The number of projects that the EPA is looking at funding is approximately 150 with track 1. The total amount for track 1 can be $10 to $20 million. It can't be less and it can't be more. And the difference between, another difference besides the funding and the number of projects between track 1 and track 2 is that track 1 will be invited to present an oral presentation. Next slide. So these are some of the requirements for track 1. All applications must benefit historically disadvantaged communities. Track 1 applicants have to have a continuous map, a geographically defined community, a project map that defines a specific disadvantaged community, which means that it most likely has to be in the city of the state that you're in. So in these breakouts, you're going to be looking for somebody who's probably around the same city that you currently are in, or around the same city of the area that you serve. Now, you could be flexible in your map. It doesn't have to be completely a continuous map, but it has to have a defined community that it will be serving. And there's like a whole mapping system that you guys, once you find your partner, you can kind of start working on together to clearly define your geographic area. So it must include 1 climate strategy, 1 pollution reduction strategy, a community engagement strategy, a governance plan, a community strength plan, a readiness approach, and a compliance plan. And that's all part of the application. So you can handle that later. It also must demonstrate a reduce in air pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions. And then track 1 applicants must also they'll be invited to participate in an oral presentation, and there's a different scoring between the oral and the written presentation. And each grantee will be required to report on the financial, administrative, and programmatic performance of their grant. Next slide. What is a community-based organization? Which gets into the crux of what we're doing today too. A community-based organization is a nonprofit tax-exempt organization. They support a community of certain populations through local engagement, education, or related services. There's a defined geographic area and or by relationships. So that's local, regional, or national community that the organization serves. And it must have a geographic presence and connection in the area that it's serving, in the project in the area that it's serving. So for example, national organizations or statewide CBOs must demonstrate that their organization has connection to the community that will benefit from the grant. So that's especially important for larger organizations. Next slide. What are disadvantaged communities? The EPA has their own definition of what a disadvantaged community is. It's very robust. It can include rural areas. It can include areas that have been historically underserved. It can include people of color areas. But they use this map here to demonstrate how they're defining their historically disadvantaged communities. There are two different other categories that can also be considered a community, even though they're not connected by a map. And these are farm worker communities. And then they're also disadvantaged unincorporated communities as defined by the Housing and Urban Development Agency. Next slide. Community change focus is 1, climate resilience and adaptation. 2, mitigating climate and health risks from urban heat islands, extreme heat. 3, community-led air and other pollution monitoring and prevention remediation. 4, investment in low and zero emission resilient technologies. 5, workforce development that supports the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And 6, reducing indoor toxins and air pollution. So these are the topics that our projects have to focus on. Next slide. We're going to do our breakout rooms by state. Next slide. So before we jump into our breakout rooms, I kind of wanted to go review the rules of the road. Number 1, please be active participants, be willing to share. Number 2, please be active listeners. Listen to the other folks in your room. Make sure that you're hearing and you're being an active listener. Number 3, create space. I think we all have a good emotional intelligence to know if we're a talker or if we're not. If we are a talker, please pay attention to the number of people that are in your breakout, because we want to create space for everyone in the room to be able to speak and to be able to connect as well. And finally, this doesn't have to be said, but please be respectful of other people in your room so that we respect everyone else's opinion and that everybody has their space to express what they want to express. All right, next slide. We're going to have, in most of our rooms, we're going to have a Green Latinos facilitator, and they're going to be facilitating these questions in the room. Number 1, what state and what city are you looking to do your program? Ideally, everybody will be able to talk a little bit about the state and the location that, or at least the city that they'll be in. Number 2, do you want to lead or do you want to be a secondary? Do you have a cage number and a UEI? Number 3, what is your project idea? Number 4, what services does your organization provide? Number 5, if you're comfortable and you want to reconnect with somebody after this breakout, please feel free to share your contact information. Number 6, set time to reconnect with your partners. And we will be sharing this deck with everyone because I know that may be popping up. And we will share the RFP with everybody after this call as well. So that being said, let's go ahead and start to create our breakout rooms. And you can feel free to join the breakout room of your choosing. In California, there might be a lot of folks, so we will probably have to create 2 rooms. All right. We're going to start creating those rooms right now, and please bear with us as those rooms are being created and join the room that's appropriate for the area that you're working in.
Hi, Joan. Quick question. Were we supposed to receive a breakout message? Because I haven't received anything.
Yes, I think our technical team, Eder, are you working on that right now?
Yes, working on that right now.
So we're in the process of working on that right now. But as we're working on it, does anybody have any questions? Yes, the fun part of technology as we're creating those.
Yeah. Hi, John. Renee again. I have another question. Let's see. Our nonprofit serves a region, not really one particular city. We primarily provide services for, a few disadvantaged communities in our region. So when it comes to applying, I don't know if we have the fiscal prowess to manage a $10 million grant or a $20 million grant. I know you mentioned at the previous webinar, strategic partnerships are going to come into play. Would Green Latinos, is the intention to apply with you all, or are you just kind of providing community-based capacity building? What's kind of the plan for Green Latinos in all these different organizations' applications?
So I think that everybody will go ahead and so if you don't have an actual, if you're not prepared to lead it, I think that you should be prepared to kind of figure out how you might join somebody else's application. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. But I was more thinking along the terms of like Green Latinos. Are you all going to be applying for your, state in Colorado, or is it more so are you intending to apply with each different group? Because $10 million, that's a very, sizable chunk of money to spend in a 2 to 3 year time frame. So just kind of curious if that was an option for everyone.
If joining the Green Latinos application, or I guess I'm
Okay, so it kind of sounds like we're all going to have our own applications. I was just curious as to what role
Green
Latinos
Latinos is looking into creating like a very robust template for everybody to take part in, or figure out like if they would like to go ahead and help out with, like if they would like to go ahead and join. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And you're also going to provide the template for us to use if it fits with our organization mission and whatnot.
And you can figure it out. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I didn't have my screen on, so I didn't know who was speaking, but I guess I jumped in late. One of my staff members was in here, but she just jumped off. I guess just to get clarity. So Green Latinos is just providing this webinar just to give us information on how to apply for this RFP that will be shared. That's one. And also the second, as I'm in New York City, this is my first time applying. So does this mean that I could apply on my own, or I could find groups to apply with, or that's two. And the third is more like, is Green Latinos applying for this RFP that will be provided to us, or is this an RFP that you created, or the intention here is for all of us to apply together or to apply as individuals? I hope that was.
So this is an EPA grant, like that's being hosted by the EPA on the community chain. It's a community change grant hosted by the EPA. We are facilitating and we're helping people figure out if they would like to apply. So that's part of it, right? So that's number one. This is an EPA grant. This is not hosted by Green Latinos. We are helping organizations figure out how we can kind of democratize the process and figure out how they can apply on their own. Like, and this is what this matchmaking rooms are going to be for. And then, so you can kind of team up with another organization that might be willing and able to have $10 million of a grant, right? And so they would be able to have the $10 million grant and bring you on as a secondary, kind of like the difference between the primaries and the secondaries that I just reviewed. And then Green Latinos on top of that is looking into the prospect of actually providing an opportunity for groups to go ahead and for groups to take advantage of a more robust application and proposal that we'll be providing for everybody to use as a template. So Eder, how are we coming along with the rooms? Should I go ahead and try to help out with that, or are the rooms?
Yeah, I'm working through it. Yeah, I'm slowly throwing people into their specific rooms.
Oh, so Eder is throwing people into your rooms. If you would, yeah. So that should be happening pretty soon.
I just have a quick question or comment. I am completely new and not an organization. So my purpose is to get familiar with your work and what you're trying to facilitate. So with this caveat, I'm not going to be like trying to match anybody or anything, but just try to take it all in and understand rather than actually do anything with it. Just
Yes.
throwing it in there.
I think that would be great. Maybe you should go ahead and join the others type of a breakout room, so you could go ahead and maybe listen and figure out how you might be able to partner with another organization. I think
not by region, because I think there is a Colorado group here. Just
yes, by region. If you see your region in there, go ahead and please do that. Yes, please join the Colorado region. And Nayeli, I think you have your hand up.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I was wondering, how can we indicate that we're interested in participating in that application that you mentioned Green Latinos is putting together? Is there a way for us?
We'll go ahead and broadcast that to everybody once we have that application completed. Because the environment, and I'll talk about this after our breakout session, but the Environmental Protection Network has a template as well. But we're going to go ahead and fill out the complete proposal so people can use that as a template for how they can go ahead and figure out how to form their own application.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think Tony has his hand raised.
Good morning. Hey, first of all, great job. You're very clear. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. Are we getting into breakout groups right now for both the infrastructure kind and the regular community change kind of grant?
So the community change grant, there's 2 tracks. Track 1 is the one that we're breaking into groups for, and track 1 is the one that we're focusing on.
Oh, is that the one for infrastructure?
Yes, it includes infrastructure, implementation. It doesn't have to be infrastructure, but that's one of the things that is unique about the track 1 of the community change grant.
Does the infrastructure also mean community infrastructure, like, you know, like community networks, things like that? Or is it more of like brick and mortar asphalt, you know?
I mean, it can include
Right.
brick and mortar, and it could do other stuff as well. So it's kind of robust. We're putting, so for the community change grant, the reason why we're focusing on track 1 is because it's $10 to $20 million. And we're trying to connect people with opportunities that might allow for people to get the most money possible, if that makes any sense.
No, I appreciate that. It's just we're a relatively small 10-year-old nonprofit. Our annual operating budget is about 200,000. You know, we're getting into the grants game, if you will, you know, with webinars like this and other stuff. But we've only gotten like grants for like 100,000, 160. You know, I want to branch out because we are a trusted messenger in our community, and we have a broad reach within our low income, mostly Latino community here in the Central Valley in California. But just wondering if there could be some kind of I don't know. I feel doubtful that there would be some kind of a match with somebody of our size to do a $10 to $20 million thing.
Well, I mean, I think that I think that one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that there's a lot of stuff that your organization might be able to provide to the other organizations.
Okay. Oh, I gotta go in a group. Thanks.
All right. Sounds good. I think that most people are assigned right now. If you're still in the
John?
general room, yes.
Where are the groups? Where do you find the groups at?
What's your
I
group? I can assign you.
Huh?
What's your group? What's your state? I can assign you to a group.
Pennsylvania.
Okay, I'll assign you over there.
Okay.
Hi, sorry, I also cannot see mine. I don't see where they are.
What's
I'm
just
in
let me know.
Texas.
Madison, can you add him to the Pennsylvania as well?
Yes.
So Madison and Emmett should be added to Pennsylvania. And Randy, where are you added to, please? Texas?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And then when you get a chance, can I be added to the Ohio group?
Yes.
Thank you.
When you have a chance, can you add Veronica Leonard to the Oregon group?
Yes.
Hello, is there a Southern California group that I can be thrown into, or LA?
Okay, hold on. So like I had Irandi for Texas, Veronica for where again?
Oregon.
Oregon. And Maki, you're from California, right?
She went over there.
Okay.
Emmett, where did you say you needed? What was your state? You're on mute, Emmett.
Pennsylvania.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else to be transferred over?
Yeah, Eder,
Renee?
Renee, SGVCC to Southern California / LA. Thanks.
And this is Teresa.
Yes, I need to go over
And
from
this
New
is-
Jersey.
Oh, sorry. Teresa Cardenas, and I'm from New Mexico, and I think I only see one other person, Lynn Wilson from New Mexico.
Yes.
Okay.
If you see a name you can't read, sorry, it's a different alphabet, so I wasn't careful enough when I was joining. If you can please kick me to the, yep, thank you.
All right, Sharonda, what state, where should you go to?
Sorry, I was trying to get the unmute. I'm in New Jersey.
All right. I'm gonna add you to
I-
New York. You should have
Thank
that
you.
now.
And I didn't see any option to join. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Carolina, where should we send you to?
Thank you, John. It could be Texas.
Texas, all right, you should have it. Energy Alliance Group, where should we send you to?
To the Michigan, Ohio.
Gotcha. All right, Brenda?
I can go into Colorado. We're national, so it doesn't really matter, but I can do Colorado. Thank you.
Okay, great. Chris DeVoe?
Yeah, Colorado, please.
Great. Lynn Wilson?
New Mexico.
Steve Payer?
Be Michigan and Ohio. I think Evan Vaughn also.
All right. Evan?
Yeah, Michigan, Ohio.
Great. Mitchell?
Michelle, can you put me in Texas, please?
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
There you go. Rudy?
Washington, please. State. Washington State.
West. Anna?
Hi, I'm not sure if you saw the chat that I included that I'm not actually here as somebody who will be able to partner, but rather I'm one of the EPA's Tic Tacs representing the West EJ Center. So we're serving Region 9. So I just thought I'd come and see if I could make any connections or take information back to the people that we're working with that weren't able to make it to your event, which thank you. This event seems awesome and I apologize for being late.
No worries.
So I'm not really sure where you'd like to put me.
Does California make sense, you think, or?
Sure.
So,
all right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Soledad?
Soledad? And I assigned Mark to Arizona. Mark, if you're there, can you approve the request to lead Arizona?
It looks like Arizona's by themselves. Maybe we should move them to another for the others.
Yes. Where should I move them to? Maybe California or Colorado? Colorado, maybe.
I put it all others, maybe.
Okay.
Mark, okay, so Arizona's empty, California, Colorado looks fine, Pacific Northwest, Florida, Illinois 0, all others.
Florida doesn't have a moderator. Can I put you in there?
Yes, but who's doing all others?
Carlos Matutes is in there.
It would be great if he moved to the other one because like with the others that don't have partners, I wanted to have a different like conversation with them. But I guess
so Carlos,
huh?
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe bring Carlos back in here so we can let him know and then throw him back into whatever we're gonna assign him to.
Yes.
Okay.
Should I go ahead and move myself into?
I'm bringing Carlos back and then Soledad is coming back. Hi, Soledad. What state can we assign you to? Soledad, can you hear me? Okay, never mind.
So how can I
moved them to New York. They messaged me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Can you throw me into I don't know if I can move myself. Or I guess I can join, never mind. I'm gonna go ahead and join others real quick.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, everybody. I was in the middle of one of our attendees going through and answering questions, so I didn't want to be rude and just bounce out.
No, no worries. You're all good. Can I put you in Florida because they don't have a facilitator? Perfect. Okay, let me put you in
Love to, and put me in with the cubanos. That's fine.
Awesome. Heck yeah. Okay, cool. Let me find you. And okay. Thank you. A lot of our folks that were on that list did not show up. And then there's a bunch of folks that did not sign up that showed up.
Better, can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay, my internet keeps going out. Did you say there's a lot of people that didn't show up?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't show up. And then there's a lot of people that did not sign up that showed up somehow.
Okay, got it. Maybe people just shared the Zoom link after they got it or something.
Right.
Thank you for leading the breakouts. There's so many people. I was helping like assign people, but thank you for doing that.
It's all good. It's all good. I definitely think like with breakout rooms, we needed to do it the day before with the facilitators. But we'll talk about that. We can debrief that later.
Yeah. Heather, I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Don Antonio, where's Mrs. Delgado? Oh, you're muted.
Hello, this is Antonio. I don't have my compañera Elba Vázquez with me today.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. For those of you that don't know, he and his partner were our dance champions.
So I think we welcome everybody back to the main session. Sorry that some people's conversation got cut off, but I hope that the matchmaking was fruitful. We'll go ahead and we'll get back to the presentation. We have a few more minutes, so I wanted to kind of bring us back and talk about some of the free support that's available. Next slide. So option one, the Environmental Protection Network, is an amazing organization, and they have a lot of free information, a lot of free guides, step-by-step information, a narrative template on the community change grant. There is information on track 2 of the community change grant too. We'll be sending this deck over to folks, and there's more information. This is updated from the last time we had our first webinar on December 12th. Next slide. Option 2, we also have the free technical assistance by the EPA. There's an online form that you can fill out. There's an 800 number, and then there's an email, and they respond to people in Spanish according to what they've told me. So if that's not the case, please also tell me, because I'm super interested. And they also have the Community Change Grant Equitable Resilience program too, that focuses more on disaster-prone areas. Next slide. Then there are also all the EPA technical assistance centers, some of which joined our call. Thank you so much. The EPA has 10 regions, and you can go ahead and see the organizations that are servicing you, as well as the links to their website over here. Next slide. And obviously regions 1 through 10. Next slide. Option 3, apply together through the Green Latinos, one proposal. I think there was a question about this earlier. Green Latinos is exploring the opportunity of creating one proposal for everyone to take advantage of and use as a template for their application. We're looking to probably start this process around March. We're still fundraising for this, but this is kind of Green Latino's solution as to what we might be doing to help along the process. We would create the application around a $20 million proposal, and it would be like people can apply with two partners at a time, just like the regular community change grant. It wouldn't be for everyone, but it would be for each partner to apply in 2 pairs. Next slide. Questions and answers. I think we already did a little bit of that earlier. I'll take it at the end, but please go ahead. If you like this seminar, if you like this webinar, please go ahead and fill out this survey. It really helps us kind of figure out what you want from us, what more information we can provide to you. Thank you so much for joining. I will leave the screen on right now. Maybe Eder, if you wanted to take people out and so we could do a photo real quick and then come back to this slide, that would be great. And then I'll do Q&A. So get ready for your photo. Smile.
Yes, everybody smile.
Eder, did you get the photo? Woohoo!
Yes,
all right.
one more. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. We're going to go back to that slide, and I will take some Q&A because I know we might be running over, but I'm happy to answer questions. I know that Nina, if you'd like to come off of mute, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. I think Arandi had her hand up first, but
Oh, okay.
Mine's super brief. The question is, they indicated that this is a rolling, is this the one that's a rolling
Yes.
rolling submissions, application submissions,
Mhm.
and that they encourage earlier application?
Yes.
Do we know, I guess, will they only go up to and accept applications and then the money is out? And will that be prior to the November 2024 deadline? Or is it, and will they let us know, you know, like, oh, we're getting closer to the end, or are the final decisions not going to be made until a later time? It's a tricky question, I know.
That's a tricky question. I think that's more of a question for the EPA. I did ask about the rolling basis. They said they would be reviewing up, their goal is to review at least once per month. So, but other than that, they haven't been really specific about whether or not they're going to let us know if they've run out of money. Obviously, the earlier you apply, it's like college, the greater likelihood you have of getting in and getting the money that you requested. So just please keep that in mind. I think that the EPA is actually having other webinars. It might be another good question to ask them. They haven't, I think they might not answer that question though. But your Tic Tac should probably are also facilitating calls with the EPA on this grant too. So I would check in with those Tic Tacs. Irandi, would you like to come off of mute and ask your question?
Yes, I was wondering, so okay, I know it says that for it's 2 partners for every $20 million, but, or for every $20 million application, but there could be sub-grantees, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
They could be 2 partners, but like your partner would also be your sub-grantee, if that makes sense.
But could there be like where the 2 sub-grant, like the grantee, the first partner and the second partner could then have be fiscal sponsors for other smaller organizations? I guess is my question.
I think hypothetically they could, but you know, yeah, I think hypothetically that could be a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Eder, would you mind throwing the survey back up while we do Q&A? Does anybody else have any other questions? I can look in the chat too. So Sharonda, I think you have your hand up.
Hello. Yes, my name is Sharonda Allen. I was wondering if you could maybe share those links in the chat again, or maybe in the email, because there were a lot of good links. I was actually clicking, and I had to print. I printed one out. I didn't see track 2. I printed track 1. But of course, when we got back, it wasn't there. So if you could do that, or if you're going to send them in an email, that's fine either way.
We'll have the decks that are all have everything linked in it. So we'll be sending to folks after the call. So everybody will be able to click on all the beautiful links that we've hyperlinked a lot. So ideally you'll be able to use the hyperlinks that we've created so everybody can enjoy all the content and not have to research it themselves.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem. I think, does anybody else have any other questions? Yes.
I have a comment. Even though we were separated by geographical regions, but it would be nice to have a summary of what each group has discussed so that we could see if there are similarities across regions and similar projects that could be implemented in a similar way. Does that make sense? So if people in Georgia are thinking about doing something extremely similar to what people are doing in a slightly different environment, there could be some partnership with some, you know,
Mm-hmm.
changes that would be specific to where people are? Just
Yes.
sharing more information. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I know we did not, we didn't take notes, because the point of what we were doing was to originally just try to get people in the same group with their region, because they were so focused on making sure that it was, it's geographically feasible for the purpose of this grant. So we didn't do that, unfortunately.
We
But
could
that's a good
connect over
recommendation
email.
for next time. Yeah.
We could connect over email because whoever was putting people in breakout rooms, maybe they have the information who went where, maybe not, maybe it's gone too fast. I don't know what records are available through this kind of format.
Yeah, I don't think that might be available, but if it's available, we'll share it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions, thoughts? I'll go ahead and share I'll share the link to the survey again one more time in the chat. If folks could go ahead and fill it out and let us know what you think, or what you, if you've enjoyed this webinar series, that would be greatly appreciated as well. If there's any other questions people have, happy to answer them. I think Terry has a question.
Yeah, just quickly, they EPN said February 20th. I know you talked about the rolling deadline, but they said, I think it was that there's a preference for February 20th to have everything, applications in by. Have you heard any change on that?
So February 20th is supposed to be their first review, as far as I understand. But it's not the only review, right? It's also a rolling basis. So don't be discouraged if you don't have your application done by February 20th. It's the first deadline. The actual deadline for all the applications is in November. I think there's still time. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, February 20th is the first deadline that the EPA has put out there. Autumn?
Thank you.
Hi, I first of all dropped a question, threw out an idea in the chat, which was just sharing like a shared Google Doc if we all want to, if anyone who wants to participate can put, you know, what region they're in, what their industry is, like what their organization does, contact if you have ideas for the projects. Maybe we could all throw it out there just for general knowledge sharing outside of the context of this like EPA grant, just because I think there was a lot of valuable information shared. My second question is, I know it's a huge undertaking, but curious if Green Latinos has a timeline in terms of that like template-ish application that you guys are thinking of creating. Just if that's something, you know, in the next couple of months, or if we're thinking it'll be closer to like in October.
No, it's something that we're exploring, and we probably won't start the application until March, with the goal of probably having it done by like April, May. And as far as the public sharing of information, our previous webinar, we have this survey for folks to fill out. I'm going to throw this in the chat for sharing information. It is here. So if you guys would like to, if anybody would like to share their own information, share more information about like matchmaking or trying to connect with other folks, this information would all be public for everybody to take advantage of. So please go ahead and fill out that information. The previous one was just for us to see if you like the content of what you're hearing and what you've been receiving over the last month.
And where do we locate that second? Where do we access that information after we've done it?
So we'll go ahead and send it to folks. But we're waiting till the end. And this is the last webinar, so you'll get a ton of information, maybe too much, but you'll get good information after this call.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carolina?
Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
So I have a question. I'm not sure whether it was mentioned earlier, but I'm creating an NGO with a colleague of mine, Erandi, who is going to be registered in Texas. We are still in the process of that work. Is there opportunity for Green Latinos to support that or to provide us? Because we're like a kind of in a, as I said, like walking through the registration, and we don't want it to be preventive of supporting the proposal writing or implementation because of the registration that is still on the works. So I'm not sure whether this type of assistance is also can be provided.
To try to help you get your nonprofit established or try to get your group? I guess I'm not really clear.
Yeah, for the NGO to be created.
Unfortunately, we don't do that at this time.
Okay,
But
no. I was just want to confirm it because somebody
Yeah.
told me that was also the possibility, but if not, it's okay. I just want to confirm that was okay or not. So I just want to know that it's just for those organizations that are already been established to be serving as primary and secondary, whatever the opportunity is. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I know we're about 12 minutes over time. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciated having you and being such an active audience. It was great hosting, and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.